No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for did I say my name right? I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. I want to give a special shout out to all of our listeners on ESPN New Hampshire. Glad you guys could be with us this morning, and we're glad to be with you this morning. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located in St. Simons Island, Georgia. The only place to go for authentic Italian food. Damn it, Billy C. Jeez, it must be the temperatures in here in the Billy C. studio. I'm stuttering. For authentic Italian food, go to Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and see what all the hubbub is about. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. And don't forget, if you're a snowbird and you're heading south, like I wish I was doing, don't forget, literally 15 minutes off of I-95, you could be sitting at Sal's restaurant just drooling and eating the delicious food. Visit the website, salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, for the address, or if you need any additional information, feel free to drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. You can also call the restaurant, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my Billy C. Manny Pacquiao Jesse Vargas post-fight show, which I will be doing 6 minutes after the official announcement is rendered on Saturday night. So make sure you tune it in right here on BillyCBoxing.com, on our YouTube channel. LDL TV might be simulcasting it. And, of course, our partner, Fight TV. We're an affiliate for Fight TV, and don't forget you can catch that on your handheld app on fight.tv. That's FITE.tv. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molina, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can literally get a copy of it right now by visiting BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board for the book. And speaking of the book, man, I got a busy weekend now that I'm realizing it. I'm going to be up at Glens Falls, New York, at the Queensberry Hotel. There's a book fair going on, so I will be there with copies of my book available to you at a discount price, signed. And even if you don't buy a book, come on by and talk boxing with me. I'll be there from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Queensberry Hotel, the Q, if you will, right in downtown Glens Falls this Sunday. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I want to see you there. Come on by and talk some boxing with me. Coming up later on the show, we got the Blast from the Past, which this week features a former world heavyweight champion and boxing Hall of Famer, Gene Tunney. Alex Papali will be joining me with that. And my man, Larry Hazard. He will be stopping by here in about 25 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on all the big stuff going on, including some latest news, like, Devon Alexander, his brother. Now, John from LDL TV told us about this 2 months ago, gave us the lowdown on this. His older brother, Von Alexander, has signed a promotional contract with Main Events. He's 6-0. He did a 10-year stint in the Slammer, and he's back to return to his pro career. He's 30 years old, so we'll keep an eye on him. We got the big news in the heavyweight division. According to the WBA, Anthony Joshua has been ordered by the WBA to fight Eric Molina, and Shannon Briggs ordered to fight Lucas Browne. I got some thoughts on this before we get into some emails. I also have NBA scores, the World Series. The Cubbies making a play of it last night, beating up on the Cleveland Indians. We'll talk about that. And don't forget about the casino that won't pay up. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but joining us right now, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, you got to welcome New Jersey Boxing Hall of Famer, Guinness Book World Record holder, champion pizza tosser, my main man, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
And a very big good morning to you too, Bill. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay, and now I need a cough drop for my throat after giving you...
I was going to say, man, that's a heck of an introduction. They keep getting better and better. I got some great pizzas that I'm going to reveal and unveil to you that I've been working on. So,
well, wait till I get there. I'll be right over. Let's stop the show. But listen, I got some stuff to talk to you about.
Yes, we do.
All right. First and foremost, the heavyweight situation, at least according to the WBA. You know, I was talking to an old timer yesterday that's been a fan, used to watch Gillette fight series and all this stuff, and you know, a typical thing. I used to be into boxing, can't follow it anymore, and you know, I gave him. Remember, we were talking a month or so ago about how many current world champions there are and everything else. Well,
right.
Here's another reason why the boxing world is so effed up. The WBA. Now I want to remind everyone that the WBA had incorporated a tournament of sorts several months back, and bottom line was that Luis Ortiz was the interim champion, and even though they stripped Lucas Browne and were making him fight Frezequendo for a time. I mean, it just got so crazy. But they changed everything again, Sal, because yesterday they made it official. They are ordering Shannon Briggs to fight Lucas Browne, and that is going to be for the regular WBA title. And then they're ordering Anthony Joshua to fight Eric Molina, okay? And if he wins against Eric Molina, then they will approve the Klitschko against Anthony Joshua for early 2017. First and foremost, what's your thoughts on that?
Wow. Talk about the hurdles and the maze of coming through to get to the goals. It's just amazing, you know. We see the potentially great fights that the fans want, and it's fan-driven, and it could be promoter-driven as well. And it just seems like, there's some more hurdles and obstacles to get to the end result. And, go through their fights and everything else, and everything else. The fighters should win their prospective fights, and once they get in the ring, it might be anticlimactic. Who knows? But, the fire's hot now, and it should be like I don't know.
Here's my point. All right, let me get you down a different path. All right.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Straighten my ass out if I say something out of whack. Okay.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, and what I have thought over the years, being a boxing fan, following the sport like I do, I kind of thought that. And just like any other sport, let's keep in mind, boys and girls, that if you're playing baseball or you're playing football or you're playing hockey or basketball as a team sport, you win a certain amount of games, and here's the magic word, Sal, you earn a shot at a playoff and ultimately a championship. Well, in boxing, during your era, during every era that I've ever followed, that was the case, right? I mean, you become a pro, you work your way into being a prospect, you work your way from a prospect to a contender, and then you work your way from a contender to a possible shot at a championship. The word I'm looking at here, Sal, is earn. Do you agree with me so far? I mean, the fighters...
100%. Definitively, you were on the track that I was raised and believed this is the way it should be.
And that's typically what we should be looking at as when we put our fan hat on. We want to see fighters that are going to fight, that have earned that shot, right?
That's correct.
All right. Shannon Briggs. Let's take a look at Shannon Briggs and Lucas Browne. All right. Now,
Absolutely.
Lucas Browne.
I'm with you.
Lucas Browne You could say what you want about Lucas Browne, but he positioned himself. He actually won the title they're making him fight for again. But they stripped him because of some allegations and stuff. But when I look at Shannon Briggs, currently, the only sanctioning body that has him ranked is the WBA. They currently have him ranked at number 8. He is not ranked in the other 3 major organizations, the WBO, WBC, and IBF. The computer ranking has him at number 37, which is accurate because the Billy C. Boxing rankings have him at number 39, all right? When he made his little comeback, so to speak, because, he fought for the world title in 2010. When he made his little comeback, let's say from 2014, because he did have a layoff prior to 2010, but let's just look at from 2014. He actually fought 9 times since 2014. He fought 6 times in 2014, twice in 2015, and once so far this year. Against opposition with a combined record, Sal, of 199 wins, 87 losses, and 8 draws. Not one of those opponents were a top 25 ranked fighter at the time that he fought him. He went in those 9 fights a total of 21 rounds, and keep in mind, one of those fights, one of them was a 12-rounder. So basically, one went 2 rounds, a little less than 2 rounds. One went 12, and this other 7 didn't even go 1 round. How does that earn a shot? How does it even earn a top 10 ranking, let alone a shot at a potential world title? Tell me how.
Well, with that kind of knockout percentage, maybe all the real top contenders are afraid to face him. That could be the whole bull.
Well, that's what he says.
Let's rewind. I think, you might as well just get in a bus, a caravan, and go to different places to have the same opponent you're going to be fighting with different names. Who the heck knows? This is ridiculous. No, that's not earning your way up there. You got to fight somebody with meat. You got to fight somebody with substance. You got to fight somebody that is somebody, and just having opponents. I guess those were a lot of tune-up fights, huh, Bill?
Listen.
It's crazy.
What's happened? Yeah, but what's happened, Sal, is that these guys that make a lot of noise and basically get put in with cupcakes earn shots, and the kids that are working their asses off in the gym are not even getting the opportunity. Eric Molina, before he fought Deontay Wilder, was basically an unknown commodity, really. I mean, he is a Don King guy, but when you look at his resume, didn't fight anybody of note. I mean, he did fight Chris Arreola, got knocked out in 1 round, fought some other older names like Darrell Touch of Sleep Williamson. He did fight and beat Tony Grano, who was basically a fabricated fighter out of Connecticut. But really what got him introduced to us was his gutty performance against Deontay Wilder. And he says, and I quote, after being announced that he's going to be taking on Anthony Joshua December 10th, he says, when it comes to fighting Joshua, many of his opponents were done before they got in the ring. He hits harder than Wilder. He's this, he's that. They weren't ready mentally for Joshua or not ready for the event. I've never had this kind of problem. I was slugging with Wilder in his home state of Alabama. I fought Adamak in front of 15,000 fans in Poland. I proved my mental strength, and I'll prove it again when I fight Anthony Joshua. What do you take by that comment? Is he just saying the right things or what?
Oh, he's certainly saying the right things. And, so on the promotion and on the promoting end, yeah, he's pushing it, and he's establishing his credibility with words. Now, let's see what the actions prevail and how they would be the substance that we're all looking for. I don't know.
The funny thing is I do give him some credit for beating Tomasz Adamek in Poland.
Well, yeah.
Except Tomasz Adamak's 150 years old. And Deontay Wilder, I think the fight with Deontay Wilder, I don't know if it proves that Eric Molina is a good fighter or if it just shows the people, really, if they read between the lines, that Deontay Wilder is a fabricated fraud of a fighter. I mean, he struggled with Molina, if you remember. Yes. He did stop him in 9. But I think a lot is going to be said in the Anthony Joshua fight. Sal, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. And when I come back, I want your quick prediction on how long Eric Molina will be in the ring with Anthony Joshua. We'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Today's show is being brought to us in part by the Title Bout Championship computer game. Check it out. And all you got to do is visit our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click the Title Bout banner, which is on the left-hand side. And today's show is also being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. And joining me right now is Sal himself. And Sal, before we went to break, is there any good out of this fight? The only thing I see out of the WBA ordering Eric Molina against Anthony Joshua is that we will see the fight that makes the most sense in the heavyweight division, Vladimir Klitschko against Anthony Joshua, early 2017.
That's the fight we want. That's the fight I want to see. And this one, like I said, is going to be a tune-up fight for Joshua. And,
I just don't understand. I don't understand why they drag it out. It makes no sense. We could have had that fight. I mean, let's be real. Klitschko got hurt, but we could have had that fight December 10th, and the WBA was holding it up because they wouldn't sanction Anthony Joshua. Now they make him fight Eric Molina in order to earn a shot. It makes no sense. And you know what the funny thing is? Molina's not even ranked by the WBA. He's ranked by
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's not even ranked.
That's like just putting mud in someone's eye. I mean, how the heck?
It's just.
I've heard it all. I've seen it all.
Well, they just
Let
want.
me tell you,
they just
I don't
want
think this fight's going to go 5 rounds.
Well,
Maybe
he does have a good chin, but I think that what people are going to be watching in this fight is how he does, how Anthony Joshua does Eric Molina versus Deontay Wilder. Because remember, Deontay Wilder still thinks he's the best heavyweight in the world. So let's read some emails. Let's see what we got going on here. This one's from Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy C, what do you think will be the keys to victory for Jesse Vargas? I think he should move his feet, head, and land combinations. In addition, Vargas should try to counter Manny when Manny starts to swing wild." Jesse Vargas should do, obviously he needs to, every fighter in order to win needs to land combinations and be effective counterpunching. As far as his movement, he's not really a movement kind of a fighter. And I agree with Jesse, Sal. I mean, if he wants a shot at Manny, movement is going to be key, but that's just not his style.
No, it's not his style. Styles make the fights. And, the bottom line is, it should be a competitive fight. Should be a good fight to see. And Pacquiao's going to have to look he's got to be right on. He's got to be good. He's got to look. There couldn't be any doubt that this guy's back in the ring, dominant, and he's a force to be reckoned with. And, anything less than that is going to be suspect and questionable. I think that he knows that. And but I think also that Vargas is going to try and answer those questions about his credibility, about his belonging to be ranking number one and beating Pacquiao and all that stuff. So, It should be a good fight. I'm
Well,
looking forward to
I
it.
think it's a 50-50 fight. But anyway, let's.
I think it is.
I
I
got
think
a couple.
it's a coin toss right now.
I got a bunch more emails here. Let's try and get them in.
ahead, go.
He says, I saw a video of Andre Ward training and looks much muscular. Do you think it's a good idea for him to be in that kind of shape? I don't know. Are they testing these guys? He did look pretty muscular. I don't know. I think Andre Ward's only chance of beating Kovalev, honestly, is movement. And sometimes, too much muscle slows down hand speed. So I don't know. He says, I think John Molina versus Crawford will take place December 10th. Jesse thinks that's a good fight. John Molina's a tough guy, but he basically takes way too much punishment. I don't like the fight. Styles make fights. Crawford's got too much movement, too much hand speed. He's just way better than John Molina. I don't see... I don't see it being a competitive fight. He says, what was your thoughts on Islam's fight versus Alate? Is he ready for big fights? His thoughts is that he should fight Hurd or Jojo Dan, Tony Harrison, etc. He says, I don't know, Kenneth Islam, sure. I think he's ready for some big fights. He beat Alatoy last weekend, so... we'll see what happens. I want to see any good fight, Sal, He says, I like Jesse Vargas, but he's talking too much. I like the confidence, but he better back up what he's saying. He's got no choice but to say that kind of stuff. So I don't know. But anyway, we got another email. Thanks for the email, Jess. We got one from Joel, your man Joel. Did you ever send him his shirt? Did you ever send him his damn shirt?
I did.
All right,
and I
good.
sent Joe a shirt. I sent Joel a shirt, and I also sent him a boxing photo that I autographed.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He responded. He was very appreciative, and I'm glad he got it.
I heard that you sent him the picture. He put that right in the center of his dartboard. But anyway,
See,
Joel says...
with the amount of time it took me to get his shirt.
He should.
I don't blame him.
Joel
Sorry,
says,
Joel.
what's your and Sal's thoughts on Eric Molina being selected to fight Anthony Joshua, as well as the rest of the card? We have to realize Eddie Hearn was on a limited time with December 10th, almost right around the corner. It's more than a month away. I mean, come on. They already had the date and everything. I can't stand this with this so little time. But anyway, he says, I can't complain with Eric Molina being the opponent for that date. That was the best they could do with who was offering to take the fight. I'm glad it wasn't David Price because he doesn't have a chin, even though he's voicing his frustrations that he wasn't selected. Yeah, okay. I agree. I don't know what to think. I'm just glad that we get to look forward to the Klitschko fight, Sal. I mean, to me,
Yes.
that's the light at the end of the tunnel. I criticized Deontay Wilder for fighting Eric Molina, so I can't possibly, pat my man Anthony Joshua on the back for fighting him. I just can't, But
No.
he says they have a solid undercard on that in that fight. He says Chisora against Dillian White is on it. Luis Ortiz is also going to be on that card if he gets past Malik Scott in a couple of weeks. And he says Scott Quigg is on that card too. Yeah, listen, I think that they're, I think that they're putting together a good card, and they do. This whole thing about the time really gets to me, Sal. I mean, because there was some news that took place. I posted, and speaking of news, don't forget, you gotta, when you visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, aside from the front page, check out, because on the front page we put all of the big news about the biggest names and stuff like that. But there's a section called the latest boxing news that has all of everything that's going on. And you got to check that out. And one of the things that are up there is a fight that was just announced is going to be taking place up at the casino in Montreal, the new revamped casino in Montreal. And one of the fighters on this card is a female fighter, Marie Eve DeCarry. She's scheduled to fight on that card. And what cracked me up, Sal, was this quote. Now this fight is taking place December 10th. Keep that in mind, right? Mm-hmm. She says, and I quote, and she's a young fighter or whatever. I think she's 5-0 or something like that. She says, it's a close date for me to fight, which is 12/10, since I just fought October 20th, but I should be ready. Now I took my socks and shoes off And I started doing some math here, Sal, and assuming they cut the deal yesterday. Let's just say they cut the deal yesterday, November 1st. That would have given her 51 days because there's 30 days in November, 31. So from October 20th, when she last fought, is 51 days until this next scheduled date, which is December 10th. To my best calculations, that's around 6 weeks. How can a fighter say that this is a short notice fight? And we say this all the time. This is coming up. This isn't just her. This seems to be the norm. What's up with that, Sal?
You know, like I said, Billy, who knows what direction the sport is being driven to? Is it by the promoters? Is it by the fans? Is it by the fighters? Is it accumulation? You know, we early on, especially building our careers and being tested young in our fight game and our careers. I mean, I think there's a span where I had maybe 3 fights within 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, I was in one bus and off to the other and hopping on a plane. And, you know, it was the casino here, Sands. And, you know, you were fighting and you were in shape to fight. So I don't see how a couple weeks you're getting out of shape to fight.
And
in fact, you should be, you know, here's the thing. When you're training for a fight, you know, you have the incentive reward. You get in shape, you fight, you maybe take a couple days off or a day off, and then you get back in the gym. You're like a fine, sharp razor. You rough the edge up, you get it honed in, you're brilliant tonight, and you rough it up again so you can gear it and you know your body. I mean, what do you mean short notice? Unbelievable. No, I don't follow it.
And this is a fighter with 5 fights.
I know.
Fights.
I mean, so they should know their body. They should know their mind, their psyche, and they should get over the coddling effect of, oh well, it's short notice. Get the freak out of here.
I got another couple of emails. I got one from Brett from this is the Canadian connection. I got one from Brett, which I'll read a little later, and my man Chris from Canada says, "Hey Billy C, were you aware of Deontay Wilder's recent statement saying that he would have knocked out Joe Louis if they fought? Has anyone told this guy to his face that you should try fighting a top 5 heavyweight first in your own era?" This is from Chris. Could you believe that Deontay Wilder would even make a statement like that?
You know, I don't know who's putting the harness on this guy, but I'll tell you what, he better put a bit in his mouth because this is, man, you can't say stuff like that. I mean, you could obviously, and he did, but man, I'll tell you what, that's too loaded for me to even want to contemplate or think about, and I don't think it belongs that sentence.
No, the joke of it is that they have him believe in that crap.
That's it.
And that's sad. It's sad. Hey, let's get everybody caught up. I talked about it real quick before we take a break. But the Cubbies last night blasted the Indians 9-3 in Cleveland to tie the World Series up at 3 games apiece. After all is said and done, it boils down to one last game. That game is tonight, Game 7. I started watching that game. They jumped all over the Indians early in that game. It was 6-0 by the 3rd inning, I believe. So congratulations to the Chicago Cubs, just not willing to curl up and hand the World Series title to the Indians just yet. It boils down to one game tonight. Make sure you watch it. Over in the NBA, we had the Cavaliers beating the Rockets 128-120. Kyrie Irving led the Cavs 32 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists. The Magic topped the 76ers 103-101. Nikola Vucevic led the way for the Magic, 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists. The Pacers topped the Lakers 115-108. The Heat beat the Kings 108-96. The Pistons beat up the Knicks 102-89. The Bucks topped the Pelicans 117-113. The Timberwolves beat the Grizzlies 116-180. The Jazz 106 over the Spurs, 91. George Hill led the way there, 22 points, 2 rebounds, and 7 assists. And the Warriors, behind Steph Curry's 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, blew out the Trailblazers 127-104. Steph Curry picking up where he left off. He came up short with the championship last year, wants it big time this year. In the NHL, Sal, the Rangers beat the Blues 5-0. The Blue Jackets beat the Stars 3-2 in overtime. The Lightning topped my Islanders 6-1. Maple Leafs 3, Oilers 2 in OT. The Senators beat the Hurricanes 2-1 in overtime. Bruins topped the Panthers 2-1. Sabres over the Wild 2-1. Capitals over the Jets 3-2. The Blackhawks beat the Flames 5-1. The Predators over the Avalanche 5-1. The Coyotes over the Sharks 3-2. And the Quack Ducks beat the Kings 4-0. Man, it's getting pretty busy with all the sports, don't you think?
It is. So we got to see with these sports to keep rising to the top and has our attention as fans. And I'll tell you what, we definitely are excited about the Cubs. I'm hoping to see some good ball playing
tonight, man. Tonight is the
for
last
the final game. The final game is tonight.
Yeah,
one way or the other.
Yeah, you should have it on at the restaurant for sure, my man.
Oh,
but,
we have had it on.
I got one more email that we'll read a little bit later. We got Larry Hazard coming up here in a minute. Then we got the blast from the past. So, Brett, if you're listening, we'll get to your email. And I also got to talk about a woman who won a $43 million jackpot on a slot machine in New York, only to have the casino tell him, sorry, we made a mistake, you get nothing. I'm a little pissed off about that.
I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I'll give you my thoughts on that. But Sal, we got to take a break right now, and when we come back, we'll have Larry Hazard, and I will be chatting with you a little later about our post-fight show on Saturday, and we will pick up with you tomorrow. We got a busy schedule tomorrow and on Friday with all of our predictions and all of that stuff, Fan-Driven Friday. So, Sal, we'll be chatting with you again tomorrow, my man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bill. I look forward to it, and see you later.
All right, my man. Take care. That's Sal Rocky Senecola, and you guys are going to miss his Batman at the end, but fear not. He will be back tomorrow, all practiced up. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, Larry Hazard scheduled to join us. I'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans. Check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show right here on Fight TV. And don't forget, you could catch the handheld app, Fight TV on your handheld, by checking out fight.tv. That's FITE.tv. You can download the app real easy. Just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Fight TV banner, which is on the right-hand side. Download that, put it on your phone, and check us out. Search Talking Boxing or Billy C or whatever, and it'll come right up. And do me a favor, drop me an email and let me know what you think of the new Fight TV app. Drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. Joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, my man Larry Hazard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, good morning, Billy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and you know how quick this segment goes, and I got so many things to ask you. First and foremost, I want to throw you back to last weekend's fights out of Puerto Rico. Juanma Lopez fought Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. A couple of things I wanted to ask you about this particular card. First and foremost, you know, being a commissioner and you know, I've been involved in the sport as a promoter, so I know what's involved, you know, leading up to a fight. And being in the commissioner role, what's your thoughts on this, which was a pay-per-view fight, and at the last minute, they have to scratch the co-main and the featured bout that were part of the pay-per-view. Now, whether people thought this fight was worth a pay-per-view or not, that's not even an issue. But the reason for the co-main event was that they find out at the weigh-in that this guy was permanently on the, you know, on the, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, he couldn't fight. He was suspensionless.
Suspensionless.
Yeah, he was permanently due to a medical condition. Well, as a commissioner, I mean, do you just look at the promoter and slap him behind the screen, or I mean, how does this even happen? Should the commission have warned him, or what's your stand on it?
Billy, you don't look at the promoter. Actually, what about the commission?
That's my point.
You see, this is the thing. Yeah, well, you said the promoter.
No, I know, but I mean, as the commissioner, do you say, are you telling these guys, like, you know, long before the weigh-in, are you saying, dude, we don't have the medicals yet on this guy, or whatever, right?
Well, you have deadlines. See, that's the thing. That's why I was getting ready to say that a lot of this responsibility falls, certainly on the promoter, but on the commission. The commission is the regulators. We are the regulators of the sport, okay? Therefore, we have to establish guidelines, and we have to enforce those guidelines. And within those guidelines, you set deadlines. For instance, and I don't know what other states do. Here in the state of New Jersey, right now, we have a show on Saturday, okay? If a show falls on the weekend on Saturday, everything, medicals, licensing, all of that, your deadline is 3 days, 72 hours before the event. Everything must be in. Now, certainly we exercise flexibility, Billy. You've been in this business. You know everybody's not going to have everything in by Wednesday for a show on Saturday. Today, we're making phone calls, we're sending emails. Hey, you need this, you need that. But certainly, those medicals must be in this office within 72 hours of that event. Now, so that's the commission who has to lead the way and enforce these guidelines. And certainly, we always get the blame for everything, okay? We get blamed. But, you know, these are things that you have to do. And you have to establish these procedures, and you have to enforce these procedures. So, you know, these things should not happen, at least at the last moment. You got 72 hours at least. I think it's a fair amount of time for everyone to have all of these documents in. Plus, it's not like you just found out that this event was going to take place. You know, these events are approved and sanctioned months ahead of time. And it should not happen. And what happened last Saturday should not have happened.
It's funny because I've been involved with shows, either doing the matchmaking or promoting myself or whatever, where there are cases where, if I was, doing a show in New Jersey and I knew that one of my fighters didn't have up-to-date blood work, because chances are you told me that, hey, this guy needs blood work, it expired, whatever. And I said, okay, Larry, I'm sending him. Here's the thing. I'm sending him tomorrow. I'll have the results. I'll have them with me on the way in. That's one of those exceptions. I get it. This guy was indefinite suspension, right? It's indefinite. And as a fighter, as a team, these guys act like they've never done this before. Every single fight that they do it. Every one they got to do it for.
I have to inject this. I have to inject this in there also. There is an organization, or there is a record keeper known as Fight Facts.
Yeah, the one they have to use. Right.
Fight Facts is the duly authorized record keeper for the Association of Boxing Commissions. This is a fact. Fight Facts, before a fight is even approved, a commission doesn't even approve a bout until when the promoter proposes a bout for approval to a commission. And I'm only speaking, I'm telling you how it's done in New Jersey, which I think is probably a prototype of most commissions. Billy C. wants to propose this bout. He sends the proposal by way of email or however to the commission, and that's accompanied with a Fight Fact.
Yep.
On the Fight Fact, it has the fighter's date of birth, where he's from, his record, and at the bottom there's a summary of suspensions, medicals that are needed, and all of these notations that are applicable to that fighter. Okay? If he was knocked out in his last fight, it would say he was knocked out in New York, November 10th. Okay? He's on suspension, 60-day suspension. It's all noted right there.
Yep.
If it's indefinite suspension, it's all noted right there. If he didn't honor his contract, all of these little notations are all right there, Billy.
I know.
These things shouldn't happen.
I know. And the other thing is if it said New York suspended 60 days, then you could say, hey, you got to go to New York, have them lift the suspension with Annabelle. If Fight Facts,
right.
if they don't do that, then hey, I'm just going by what the Fight Fact says, and for them to act like, what, we need blood work? What, we're suspended? Oh, come on, man. I mean, everybody. To me, it was a joke. But here's another one for the same card. After the fight, which was an exciting fight, Juan Lopez ends up getting into a physical altercation with the corner of Wilfredo Vasquez. I'm sorry. I'm all jacked up here. But Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. gets into an altercation, and as of today, I haven't heard of the commission doing any kind of repercussions or any kind of fines or anything on any party. I'm not really sure who started it or who instigated it or whatever. But isn't that another duty of the commission to make sure that doesn't happen? I mean, you can't have the fighter is fighting his opponent. That's it. No one else should be taking swings at anybody, right?
That's why you have inspectors. That's why you have to have strict enforcement of all of these protocols. You see, when you run these events, when they're loosely run, anything can happen. That's why the dressing rooms have to be monitored very closely. There shouldn't be anyone in the dressing rooms, in the dressing room area, unless they are licensed and working the corner of one of the fighters. You have inspectors who accompany the fighters to and from the ring. It's their responsibility to make sure that these types of things do not occur. Okay? I definitely, and I mean, nobody's perfect. You know, things can happen anywhere. I don't want to put myself in a position where, you know, it's like we are far from perfect. But these are the things that fall within the purview and the responsibility of the commission.
And
These
that
are the things.
and that particular one should be high on the priority because that falls under safety, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. You know, and we wonder, you know, every week we talk about, you know, oh, the poor sport, what's to become a boxer? And then every week it's just worse and worse. It's like, oh my God, it's like a free-for-all. I can't blame the people that have turned their back on the sport. I mean,
Man.
you can't even make it up.
Yeah,
if we were like just pretending that we were making this stuff up, I mean, I don't think people would believe it, you know, I mean, but, you know, we're not even making it up, which leads me to this, the WBA, which is so confusing now.
I know.
You know, without, you know, this is your call, but, you know, for anyone that doesn't know, Larry was involved with a sanctioning body, and he's well versed on what takes place with sanctioning bodies. And, you know, the WBA was extremely confusing with the heavyweight picture, calling for a tournament and having this belt and that belt, and they were vowing to clean up the belts and all this. Well, we get an announcement. It's again, I can't even make this up, right? We get an announcement yesterday that says, okay, here's what we're doing. We are going to order the regular WBA World Heavyweight title to be fought with Lucas Browne. Now, keep in mind that Lucas Browne had already won this title. That they stripped him. They stripped. I know you can't even make it up, right? They stripped him of it, so he wins it. And who do they put him in with? They put him in with Shannon Briggs. Now, no disrespect to Shannon Briggs, but Shannon Briggs, since if you want to count his comeback, his recent comeback in 2014, he's fought 9 times. Against not one opponent was ranked in the top 25, right? So all of a sudden he's ranked number 8 in the world by the WBA. The computer has him at number 37. We got him at number 39. He's not even ranked in the top 15 of any other sanctioning body, yet he has become the mandatory to fight Lucas Browne for the vacant title that Lucas Browne had already won. Okay, and then they sprinkle in this other part of it for the super heavyweight title, which they promised us they were going to combine. Right? They have Vladimir Klitschko approved to fight Anthony Joshua only if Anthony Joshua beats Eric Molina on December 10th. And oh, by the way, Eric Molina's not even ranked. He's not even ranked in the WBA. In the WBA, he's not even ranked in the WBA. Explain all of that to me, Larry.
No, I can't. Don't ask me to explain it. See, because you know, just listening to you, you know, I have to laugh to keep from crying. Okay, because it is atrocious. It is really criminal. What's happening to our sport. And you have fighters like, may they rest in peace, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, some of the great heavyweights. They must be spinning in their grave, you know, with some of the stuff that these sanctioning organizations, okay, and I'm saying, are getting away with. And see, and that's the thing that leaves guys like you and I and thousands of others who are die-hard boxing guys who constantly try to continue to defend our sport from those who say boxing is becoming like the WWF, okay? Why it's becoming such a joke, you know, because we know boxing goes as the heavyweight division goes. It's been sacrosanct since almost the beginning of time. And what they're doing, they're ripping the sport apart from its roots, from the heavyweight division. Okay? Look at what they're doing to our dear sport. And our hands are tied it's like nobody can do anything about it. And see, when you get the hue and cry from the politicians or from whomever, that there needs to be some type of federal intervention or some type of intervention from some place, it's hard for you to rail against that, because look what's happening, and nothing to being done about it. It is totally ridiculous. And you asked me to explain it. Listen, man, I have no idea. There's no way that I can explain what's going on.
You could explain the secret of life before you could explain what's going on in the boxing world, right? I mean, geez.
Crazy, man.
I tell you, the only good thing out of this whole mishmash confusion is that Klitschko will fight Anthony Joshua sometime early 2017, which is the fight we all wanted to see in December. But
we hope.
Right, we hope that you're right about that. You know, it's funny, just to get off, because I want to get into some of the fights for this weekend, but just to get off topic, you know, Deontay Wilder was quoted as saying last week that, you know, if he would have ever fought Joe Louis, he would have knocked him out cold and all this stuff. And I said, Deontay Wilder has become more of the character in Harder They Fall. It's like everyone knows that he's been coddled and moved along. And yes, he has shown us little glimpses of some talent, but he's yet to really fight. You know, when the top guys he ever fought were guys like Eric Molina, that were, you know, Johan Duhaupas, that we're kind of discrediting now. That's pretty sad. And, you know, it always reminds me of a statement. James Jeffries was asked, I think it was, his 65th birthday or something like that, what he thought of the current heavyweight division. And during that time, when they asked him, the heavyweight champion was Joe Louis. And James Jeffries says, these guys today, they're just nothing like we were back in our day. And I have to laugh because it's the same thing. Like Joe Louis, they used to say, the bum of the month club. And one show we did, several months back, is we analyzed all of the so-called bums of the month, you know, the Abe Simons and the Tony Tutangalentos, etc. And I think they all would be world champions today. They weren't that bummy, you know, compared to what we have to deal with today, you know. But
you know what's even sadder? I can bring it even closer to today. You know, such a big difference. It's such night and day. Let's take Mike Tyson. Okay, and you know, Mike Tyson's era was not that long ago. I mean, that's right now. Okay, you could go to a Mike Tyson fight, and everybody knew that you couldn't hardly, you know, you better not blink, or you better not run out to get any popcorn or anything. But if it did happen, you know, you go to a Mike Tyson fight, the fight would last maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes. How everyone would still walk out of the arena satisfied.
Yep.
You know, that everyone would still be, it would be everybody would be satisfied. Why? Because they knew that they were looking at greatness. They knew, okay, of course, Mike made everybody look like a bum because he was just that good, okay? Because some of the fighters that he beat would beat these guys today with very little training, you know? And it's just a shame, man, just how far the sport has gone.
Well,
it's just
what bothers me more, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Larry, but what bothers me more is I'm sensing acceptance by a lot of the newer fans, the younger generation of fans, which is really, that bothers me more because from what I see, these kids, and I don't mean to blanket everyone together, but all the kids seem to lose interest in things a lot quicker than we did or previous generations, and with that thought process, I can't see them and I've said this before, you know, we're lifelong fans. We're going to follow this, but listen, we can complain about it 100 times a day, but at the end of the day, if there's boxing on TV, me and you and guys like us are going to tune in and watch it, regardless of the state of the sport. But I'm afraid that in the future, these newer fans, this younger generation of fans won't. I think that they'll lose interest and finally get sick of it, because even though they accept it now, that can't last, right?
Well, I was very, I was a holdout, about the sport in terms of the sport really declining and fading away. But, Billy, just like what we were just talking about with the heavyweight division, I'm starting to really believe that over time, maybe I won't be around to see it, but I think that boxing, the way it's going, man, it's going to reach a point where it's going to be non-existent. It's going to be, it's just fading away, because, the feeling, the enthusiasm for the sport, the way that the fans, the acceptance of these mediocre fighters, the way it's going, eventually I think that the sport does have the potential of fading away.
Well,
it's sad.
What's sad is I think that, and I know that we always wrestled with the question, if you could go back in time, how would a Klitschko fare against a Joe Louis, etc. And it's hard, because physically they're so much bigger and, athletic today, and we know so much more about nutrition and training techniques. I mean, I always cringe when I think of James Jeffries again. When he was training, he used to limit himself to 1 quart of water in a 24-hour period. He felt that toughened him up. He's lucky he didn't die of dehydration. But I think the biggest problem with the sport today is the fact that we don't get the big fights when they should. They try to marinate them. They try to fleece us. They try to make up something and make us believe it's something else. I mean. I think that's the problem, and the worst part is that the athletes themselves, the fighters themselves, do have the potential to make this sport great. But this whole safety first, and don't get me wrong, I want safety for the fighters, but there has to be a limit with that, and in terms of, if you're that concerned, pick another field, I mean, it's the same thing with football. They want to do away with the kickoffs. You're not allowed to tackle. You're not allowed to, hit hard. You're not allowed to tackle the quarterback too hard because, it might hurt him. It's just, it's like you might as well play 10 Mississippi, but.
Well, they're taking away, they're eliminating all of the elements that historically have made the sport and made the players and the fighters great at what they do. You can't hit a certain way. So now those guys who were known as the great tacklers and the great hitters, you take away, you diminish their game. So no longer do you get these, guys who are well known for that because you've taken away their weapons, and so, in the name of safety. And it's really hard to argue with it, but these are not safe sports, and you know this going in, and I mean it's a tough choice to make, but that's the way it has always been, and this is what has made the sports great.
How do you think Ronnie Lott would like playing football today?
Right, that's
Ronnie Lott was like a human torpedo. Right. I mean, nobody wanted to catch a pass in his area, and that's what made him so effective. Now they bump.
Or Jack Tatum.
He destroyed my guy, Joe Namath. I mean, I mean, the truth of the matter is that's what garnered their respect. Now they don't even wrap up and tackle; they bump. That's why you see all these broken plays all the time, where they're next thing you know, the running back's got nobody near him because they don't wrap up and tackle. But real quick,
listen, did you hear Cam Newton the other day?
Oh, I know that. That's why I was talking. That's what I was talking about. Now quarter, and he's a big. First of all, Cam Newton's a monster. I wouldn't want to be in his way. Now he's complaining that they're tackling him too hard.
They're tackling too hard.
Yeah, Cam Newton. Listen, Cam Newton is a stud. There's no question about it. Cam Newton is probably the prototypical player that everyone is going to have a physique and type of body and play like him. The problem with Cam Newton is the offense that he's on. He's the only guy that's a franchise player that they run the ball. I mean, every quarterback in the NFL, they try to prevent the running of the football so that they don't take unnecessary punishment, except for Cam Newton. I know he's big and everything, but unless he has to, they call running plays for him. You know, and you can't blame a defensive unit to tackle him because he's a threat to them. You know, so
that's right.
You know,
that's right.
Listen, I love Cam Newton, and I think that he's the guy, but come on, man. You know, he's got to learn how to deal with the public. But anyway, real quick, because we're out of time, this weekend, Manny Pacquiao against Jesse Vargas. I think it's a 50-50 fight, and I think a lot is on the line for Manny in this fight. I think if he performs well, he's gonna get the rematch with Floyd. What's your quick thoughts on the fight, and who's gonna win?
Well, I kind of agree, but I think that you know, we know why he took the fight, because chances are that he's going to you know, have a lot of success in it. I got to stay away from who's going to win, but I think he's going to have a lot of success, and I think that's why he took that fight. As far as him and Floyd again, you know, who wants to see it?
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You start getting ready for it. It's going to happen, you know, because Manny wins. It's the only fight that makes sense for Floyd and will make him another $200 million. I mean, come on. You know, he's not fighting Keith Thurman. He's not fighting, you know, he's not going to do it. He's going to take a low-risk fight, and to him, that's Manny Pacquiao. And
that's the only, and you know, Billy, not to cut you off, but that's the only disappointment, major disappointment that I have in Floyd. You know, I've had my criticisms of him along the way, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, he kept the squad alive, and he's a great fighter. But you know, if you're going to come back, Floyd, call out the best guy, man.
No, he's telling.
No,
he's telling.
like
yeah, but what he's doing is he's saying Triple G should call out Andre Ward. He's like deflecting that, which is comical, man. It's comical. But Larry, man, thanks for both of us getting our blood pressure up today. I mean, only boxing can do that for us. You know, go calm down, have a drink of water, and we'll look forward to you next week, my man.
Okay, Billy.
All right, brother. Take care.
Okay.
That's my man Larry Hazard getting riled up like myself over the sport of boxing that we both love dearly. So, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, Blast from the Past, Gene Tunney is up next.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
It's Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show right here on ESPN New Hampshire and on Fight TV. Glad to be part of your morning, and we're glad to have you with us today. But One of our longest-running segments and one of our listeners' and viewers' favorite segments is due up right now.
Blast from the past. We shine the spotlight again on fighters from years past.
top-ranking heavyweight. Joe Louis is the leading contender.
Joe Frazier with a left hook. Good right hand thrown by Foreman that time.
Look at that left hook. Belt that goes to Ray Mancini.
It's Blast from the Past on Talkin' Boxing.
And this week's Blast from the Past, which is being sponsored by the Title Bout Championship computer game and KOFantasyBoxing.com, features a former world heavyweight champion. He's a boxing Hall of Famer and doesn't get talked about much today. Gene Tunney. And joining me right now to tell us all about Gene Tunney is my man, Alex Propali. What's up, Alex?
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
Getting riled up, all this stuff. Thank God we have this segment to bring us back to reality when fighters were fighters, when men were men, well, I'll leave all of that to you. Gene Tunney today, man. We never did Gene Tunney, did we?
Yes, we did, way back in 2012.
Oh, okay, so burst my bubble. Go ahead, Mr. Record Keeper. Go ahead. Alex knows. I don't know. Gene Tunney, the fighting Marine. It's kind of and he's lived near, in your state, but this is a guy that a lot of young fans don't even know who he is. It's kind of weird, don't you think?
Yeah, I guess I don't talk to enough young fans to know, he's not one of those guys. He wasn't a puncher. He wasn't, history tends to glorify the aggressive guys, especially at heavyweight. He's more of a tactician, so I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, but he certainly does, because when you look at his record versus Hall of Famers, it was pretty awesome, but we'll get to that. Gene Tunney, he was born May 25th, 1897. He was 6 feet tall and born in New York City. Fought at light heavyweight and heavyweight and briefly at middleweight. His real name is actually James Joseph Tunney, and one of his sisters evidently couldn't pronounce his name, so that's where Gene, he got Gene, and Gene stuck. He was the son of Irish Catholic immigrants, and he learned to fight in the streets of Greenwich Village in New York City after being gifted a pair of boxing gloves at the ripe old age of 10 years old. He was into a lot of sports as a youth, but boxing was the one he liked the best, and he became a pro fighting in New York City just before World War I broke out, and he was very eager to enlist and to go and to help the effort. He almost enlisted with Canada. That's how eager he was to get into the action, but he waited for the U.S. to enter the war and then signed up with the American Expeditionary Force, and that was a division under Pershing, General Pershing, and he was stationed in France. He was a combat Marine, but he mostly boxed there in the service, and he became the American Expeditionary Force light heavyweight champion. I believe he became the heavyweight champion as well, and when he returned to the States after the war, he continued boxing full-time. Before the war, he had worked as a clerk in a New York shipping firm, but he was a very intelligent guy. He had been... he had got the most of a public education. He was a big fan of Shakespeare, but he was a peerless boxer, strategic, very fast. It was a style clash of the day for him because a lot of the guys were the more rough-hewn brawlers, and he was a scientific boxer. So he made great matchups with some of the wild, swinging, flurry-throwing, furious fighters of the age, like Harry Greb and Jack Dempsey. Tunney was all sweet science. He was definitely a classy boxer.
He fought Harry Greb a bunch of times. As a matter of fact, his only real loss on his resume is against Harry Greb. And again, that goes back to, several weeks ago, a month, 2 months, whatever it was, when we had an email, somebody questioning Harry Greb. Harry Greb couldn't beat Triple G or something like that, I think is what it was, and that he didn't fight anybody, didn't even get, fought in an era where they didn't have decisions, and, they were belittling Harry Greb, and you say to yourself, well, Gene Tunney's only loss came at the hands of Harry Greb, and this is the guy that fought Jack Dempsey not once but twice. We'll get into those fights. He also fought Tommy Gibbons. You're right. He fought a lot of guys that would come right after him, and he did use his superior boxing skill. You mentioned that he wasn't known for punching power, which obviously he wasn't. But the funny thing is his KO percentage was higher than other fighters who were known. Like, for example, Jake LaMotta. Even though people think of him as a knockout guy, he wasn't. And he had a lower knockout percentage than the 56% KO ratio that Gene Tunney had throughout his career. So it's kind of a label that was stuck on him that stuck around for, till this day, But tell us about the Harry Greb series. I mean, these guys fought, 6 times?
I think they fought 5 times. Tunney was younger and bigger, but Greb was ferocious and rougher and much more experienced. Tunney went 3-1-1. He won 3, lost 1, and 1 was I think 1 was considered a newspaper decision, but it's mostly looked at as a draw.
Well, the one that he lost, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but the one that Harry Greb beat the crap out of him, busted him up really bad, and he didn't even want to ever fight him again, and he ends up fighting him 4 more times. But the fight that Harry Greb won, he kind of threw an ass kick on Gene Tunney, right?
Yeah, the first one that they fought, Greb did really rough him up. Tunney fought extremely well and made a great fight of it for 10 rounds, but Greb came on in the last 5 and really overwhelmed Tunney. He had him cut along the eyebrows, and he was bleeding from the nose and mouth. Greb fought, his usual fight. He was all over his guy, chopping his man up. And, despite that, he was about 12 pounds lighter. Tunney weighed 174.5, and Greb, according to BoxRec, only weighed 162.25. So it did tell you just how tough Harry Greb was. And this was later in Harry Greb's career. When they fought again just a few months later. The first fight was in May of 22. The rematch was in February of 23, so not too long later. And that one, the decision was controversial. Tunney won a split decision over 15 rounds. Greb was the aggressor, and Tunney was the counterpuncher through much of the fight. That was how their styles often matched up. But supposedly it was one of those fights, according to BoxRec, Greb was made to observe the rules closely, and this undoubtedly curbed his usual freewheeling style. So it does, he was the one who played a little harder, faster and looser with the rules in terms of legality. But Tunney won the rematch with his body attack mostly, which evidently he learned a lot from talking to Benny Leonard, the great Jewish lightweight. And it was shots to the heart and to the ribs and the chest that Tunney used throughout some of the next few fights, the next few times that him and Greb got together. Tunney had his number, and it was usually a body attack that allowed him to dominate the fights, the subsequent fights with Harry Greb.
The weird thing about Gene Tunney, at least in my opinion, is he won the title from Jack Dempsey, gave Jack Dempsey the famous rematch, and then defended it one more time, and that was it. So in a sense, he won the title, made 2 defenses, and that was it. The public never really liked this guy, Alex. I mean, he was a vet, an Army vet, and he was a guy that you would think that people would flock around because of his service and everything else, but the public never really accepted him for some reason. Why was that? Was it the Jack Dempsey? Because the public loved Jack Dempsey. I mean, you think it was because he beat the great Jack Dempsey and people turned on him, or were there other reasons? What's up with that?
Yeah, I think that's why. I think that to some degree that there was a bit of a tradition here that Tunney was carrying out. Tunney was a skills guy with real, great jab-driven offense. He wasn't a thriller, and people tend to like punchers and thrilling, attacking fighters better. He was much more scientific. He was a boxer, and even though boxers tend to win when they clash with punchers, it's the punchers that tend to put asses in the seats. And, I think that that was one of the disadvantages that Tunney had, was that, he conquered the monster of Jack Dempsey that everybody loved. When you're the conqueror, you're not as beloved as the monster themselves. But, both those fights with Jack Dempsey had over 100,000 people that showed up. Now, maybe most of them were there to see Dempsey win, but he definitely was part of the equation. I think, remember, the whole, you couldn't help but compare. The way they talked about Dempsey at the day was that he was a draft dodger. He was a slacker. So in terms of mighty opposites, it was a promoter's dream to put those two guys together. Of course, the fans would choose sides just like they do today.
And it's strange how, especially during that time, the whole patriotism thing and how they still kind of ended up siding with Dempsey. And Dempsey lost that first fight, and it was a clear, styles make fights. Dempsey just did not get a willing partner to go toe-to-toe with him in Gene Tunney. Gene Tunney used his boxing ability to steal the championship from Jack Dempsey in terms of stealing it, meaning, his boxing skill, his sweet science skill, so to speak. But the second fight was a little different. Dempsey did land more shots, and it was the famous long count fight, even though Gene Tunney did keep Dempsey out of harm's way with his boxing ability. It was a new rule that just was incorporated in the state of Illinois. That second fight was in Chicago. Both corners and fighters were explained the rule time and time again. They had to sign off on it, agree in it. And as we all learned to find out, that fight will be forever remembered as the long count. Tell us about that.
Yeah, in the rematch at Soldier Field in Chicago, and there was a rumor that that fight might have been fixed because supposedly Al Capone had a $45,000 bet on it, and he had a bet on Dempsey to win, and when the long count happened, people thought, oh my God, it must have been a fix. But I think it was just one of those theater of the unexpected, comedies of the ring error. Like you said, the rule was that you had to go to a neutral corner. Jack Dempsey, the ferociousness that was always a characteristic of his career, he used to stand over guys. And in the seventh round, in a fight that, most of that fight, Tunney was dominating him. And in the seventh round, though, he, catches him with a left hook, and that opens up an explosion of blows, and he drops Tunney. Well, instead of going to the neutral corner right away, as he should have, the referee Dave Barry tells him to, he sort of lingered, standing over him, and just caught up in the moment. Well, the timekeeper outside the ring is counting. Dave Barry refused to pick up the count until he got Dempsey into a neutral corner. Meanwhile, about 4 seconds goes by. Dempsey goes to a neutral corner. Barry comes back and continues the count.
Starts the count.
Starts at 1.
Right, exactly.
So that's what happens. So rather than picking up the count at 4, so it ended up that Tunney was on the canvas probably more like 14 seconds. There's times that that they've put the footage of the knockdown in front of a stopwatch, like superimpose a stopwatch on the film itself, so that you see in real time. Tunney was down about 14 seconds. However, it does seem like he was aware of all his faculties and was just sort of resting on the canvas like a smart, strategic boxer would, to take every moment that was available to him, that he was watching Dave Barry's count, and then got up at 8 and continued with the fight. In the next round, he dropped Dempsey and just continued to dominate him and defeat him. But forever, people will wonder what could have been had Dempsey run right to a neutral corner and the count proceeded as it should have.
It's funny. They did the same thing with Tyson Douglas, and I've always thought that Tyson knocked out Buster Douglas, and they gave him kind of a long count. But the difference, and just jumping off topic a little bit, I look back at a lot of fights, historically famous fights, that if they would have taken place today, would have never gotten to the points that we remember them for. Ezra Charles against Rocky Marciano, that fight would have been stopped with Rocky's nose flopping on his face the way it was. The knockdowns that you saw with what's his name? What was the fight? Archie Moore and who was the guy? They knocked each other down.
Yvonne Durrell.
Yvonne Durrell. They fought a couple of times, and how many times did they go down? I mean, that fight would have been stopped many, many times. So many fights historically would have been stopped, either due to cuts or hitting the canvas a lot, that weren't stopped during the era. But the one the thing that always bothered me about the long count was exactly what you said, because today, and we've talked about that many times. Today, when there's a knockdown, and as soon as the referee rules it a knockdown, the timekeeper starts the count. The referee goes and makes sure that fighters are in neutral corner, etc. Looks at the timekeeper. The timekeeper will hold up where the count is at from a second point of view, and the referee picks up the count from that point. Now, we've talked about how sometimes a referee, adrenaline, fighters starting to get up, they seem to speed up the count. Sometimes they slow it down when they're laying on the canvas, whatever. But the fact remains that they pick up a count that has supposedly already started. Even though this was a brand new rule, they were supposed to pick up that count. And Barry, the referee, chose not to. Was there ever any explanation of why, or was that just hey, I'm the referee, I make the rules during the fight? I mean, what's the deal with that?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I think you see that even today. I mean, that's probably a good question for Larry Hazard. I mean, I think when you come right down to it, the referee is the man in charge. So I think even if the referee ends up making one of those decisions there, or gets caught up in the heat of the moment and does not pick up the count from the referee outside the ring, I think you still got to go with it, because the referee's the man in charge. So I don't know. I mean, that's a good question, but I do think that I think that the fact is it's not 10 seconds; it's a count.
Right.
So whether sometimes it does take 14 seconds. That's why I completely disagree with the and you know me, I'm a huge Tyson fan, but I completely disagree with the idea that he knocked out Buster Douglas first in that fight. I remember when HBO did a segment on that even when you look at some knockdowns, even Trevor Berbick was down for 14 seconds. Sometimes it's not really seconds. But I also think that just like Gene Tunney, Buster Douglas could have gotten up quicker, because if you watch that replay, he hits the ring. He has his faculties. He bangs the ring like he's mad at himself for eating that uppercut. If you're mad at yourself, you're conscious. just like Tunney looked as if he was sitting there holding onto the ring ropes waiting for Dave Barry to come back. So I do think that in both situations the fighter could have gotten up, but I do think, like you said, that it's not uncommon to get something more than 10 seconds or less than 10 seconds. Sometimes we see a referee. There was one of those fights recently over in the UK that was a little bit controversial, where the referee, there was no doubt about it, he sped up the 8, 9, 10.
They do that. No, Alex, I've seen that done more than not. Like it always seems, and I know we've talked about this on the show, but it always seems, especially at the time the fighter begins to rise. Like you'll hear the referee methodically, 1, 2, 3, right? And then as the fighter's rising, he starts 7, 8, 9. It's like he's racing. And I don't think they do it purposely. I think it's adrenaline. I just think it's human nature, and I think that falls back to exactly what you just said a few moments ago. It's not seconds. It's a count. It's supposed to be a count, and that's why it just pisses me off when I see fighters staying on that knee until the referee's at 9. When they get to 7, they should stand up, because now the referee has a clear indication that this fighter is ready to continue, or at least, be able to evaluate to make sure he's ready to continue. But these fighters that stay on their knee till 9 then complain about it. Really, that rise, that standing up from the knee between 9 and 10 is where they lose the fight. So another thing about Gene Tunney is he was the first world heavyweight champion to actually retire as a champ and then never come back.
Right, and I think that might have been another reason why people didn't like him that much, because I don't think that I think people wanted to see him, they'd like to see the title change hands. They wanted to see him defend it. I think that was another reason why he might not have been all that popular.
Yeah, well, Jack Dempsey, people loved, and he certainly didn't want to end his career the way he did. But Gene Tunney ended up ending his career on a winning note. What did he do after boxing?
After boxing, he was really successful in business. He had a genuine love for learning, and he read extensively. As I said earlier, he had been a big fan of Shakespeare. And actually, as heavyweight champion, he lectured on Shakespeare at Yale in front of about 200 students, and he was made an honorary member of Pundits, which was a society of wits and scholars. He was friendly with George Bernard Shaw, the playwright, and even Ernest Hemingway, both big boxing fans. After boxing, he married the Carnegie fortune heiress, Polly Lauder, which was big news in the tabloid headlines. He wrote 3 books, Boxing and Training in 1928, A Man Must Fight, he wrote in 1932, and Arms for Living in 1941. And as if serving in World War I was not enough, he actually served in World War II as well. He transferred from the Marines to the Navy, and there he was installed as the head of the physical education program for of the Navy. And yeah, he was successful in business afterwards as well. He had 3 sons and a daughter, and one of his sons, John Tunney, actually became a U.S. Senator from California.
And now, just jumping back again, and by the way, for all the affiliates and Fight TV, we are not taking a break here. Sorry about that. Alex never lets us take a break during his segment, so we're moving on. But didn't his family not want him to fight too? Did I pick that up somewhere, that when he first turned pro, his family was against it? I
didn't find that, but it could be, yeah.
Yeah,
that wasn't uncommon at these times. And, he did change his name. I don't know if he was hiding it from his mom, like we see a lot.
Well, he wasn't Italian, and he wasn't Irish, and usually the Italians and the Irish mothers used to beat the snot out of their kids if they were scared. That always makes me like...
I think he was Irish Catholic, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, no, you're right, he was, but it always made me laugh about how these fighters that were vicious in the ring were scared to death of their moms, you know.
Yeah, really.
I love it. But anyway,
yeah, when you look at his career in terms of Hall of Famers, I mean, listen to this list of Hall of Famers he's fought. He was 1-0 versus Jeff Smith. He's in the Hall of Fame. He was 1-0 versus George Carpentier. Carpentier's in the Hall of Fame. He was 1-0 versus Battling Levinsky. Levinsky's in the Hall of Fame. He was 1-0 versus Tommy Loughran. Loughran's in the Hall of Fame. He was 2-0 versus Jack Dempsey. Dempsey's in the Hall of Fame. He was 3-1-1 with Harry Greb. Greb's in the Hall of Fame. He was 1-0 with Tommy Gibbons. Gibbons is in the Hall of Fame. So that's a pretty damn good record against Hall of Famers.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and again, it goes to what I say. You know, it's a shame that the fans today, a lot of them don't even know who he was, and he's also during that era of heavyweights where he wasn't a big guy. You know, I don't think he weighed more than 189 pounds for a fight, did he?
I think 190 or 192 might have been his biggest, but you're right, definitely not a big guy comparative. I think his last fight was his heaviest. He was 192. But yeah, against Dempsey in both those fights, he was only 189.5. To Dempsey outweighed him a little bit. So yeah, it's that's the tough thing about comparing him to the fighters of today, the modern era. They're so much bigger, but in terms of skills, I mean, he was no joke.
No, and he passed away in 1978 at 81 years old. Was anything specific? I know you always find the obits, but he just died of old age, right?
Blood poisoning. He had suffered from some circulatory trouble, but yeah, he was 80 years old, so he had lived a nice long life.
But but at the end of his life, wasn't he in good shape? Didn't he maintain being in good shape his whole life? I mean, he didn't balloon up like a John L. Sullivan and so many others. He was
Prince Nassim Hamed. There's a picture.
Oh
of
my
Prince
God!
Shopping today.
I know he's fatter than me, and I'll tell you another guy that's ballooned up. Even though he's recently retired, is Marcos Maidana. He was busting out of his shirt the last time I saw a shot of him. But hey, whatever. But Gene Tunney did stay in decent shape, right?
As far as I know, yeah. He was definitely an athletic guy. He took long walks and was into using dumbbells, and so still maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Yeah.
So again, in the Title Bout Championship computer game, how did he fare against some of the monsters of the heavyweight division today?
Well, he did very well. I mean, let's keep in mind, IBRO, the International Boxing Research Organization, lists him number 4 all-time at light heavyweight and number 11 all-time at heavyweight. And Bert Sugar has him at 13 in his book of Boxing's Greatest Fighters. So whenever you see credentials like that, you can kind of guess that Title Bout is going to look at him very highly. And so I had him fight at light heavyweight as well as heavyweight. First, I put him in against Kovalev. The first time they fight, he wins a unanimous decision, 2 scores of 117 to 110, 1 score of 116, 111, all in favor of Gene Tunney. He had Kovalev on the deck in the 11th. When they fight 100 times, Gene Tunney dominates. He wins 93 victories, 5 defeats, 2 draws. He scored 45 KOs. In his 5 wins, Kovalev scored 3 KOs. Then I had him fight Adonis Stevenson. The first time they fight, Tunney won by TKO at 1 minute and 47 seconds of round number 8. When they fight 100 times, Tunney dominates, 93 victories, 6 defeats, 1 draw, 50 wins by knockout. Adonis Stevenson had 5 KOs in his 6 victories. And then I had him fight the disgrace, our current heavyweight champion, Tyson Fury. And thankfully, he dominated Tyson Fury. The first time they fought, he beat him by unanimous decision, 2 scores of 118 to 109, 1 score of 119, 109. all in favor of Tunney. He had Fury down in round 11. And when they fight 100 times, Tunney wins 97, loses 3. He scores 31 knockouts of the big man, and all 3 of Fury's wins were by knockout.
That's good that they had him, that the computer sees him winning, even though he gives up, 7, 8 inches to Tyson Fury? Jeez.
8 inches, yeah, and about 60 pounds.
Unbelievable. Great job as usual. Alex. Gene Tunney, former world heavyweight champion, was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. Had a career record, 65 wins, 48 coming by knockout. He had 1 loss, which was to Harry Greb, and 1 draw. He also fought during the newspaper decision era, where he won 14 and had 3 draws. He fought over 500 rounds, close to 600 rounds as a pro, with a 56% knockout ratio. Gene Tunney, like we mentioned a few moments ago, passed away in 1978, 81 years old. He is our blast from the past this week. And is there a lot
actually,
of footage?
There is a little piece of footage.
That's what I was just going to
him,
ask you.
Sparring with James J. Corbett. It's some silent footage, and it looks like it's from 1925. Evidently, it's before the rematch with Dempsey. And in it, he's showing, showing some of the punches that he used in different fights. Some of the punches that he shows, the punch that Dempsey landed on Burpo. I'll post it in social media. It's an interesting little clip. It's brief.
Good deal. I was just asking Alex if there was any footage that you guys could check out. But Gene Tunney, see what you can pick up on him, because he's a guy that you should definitely know about. Gene Tunney, our blast from the past this week. Great job, as usual, Alex. And as usual, I got to get your thoughts on some stuff going on. First and foremost, Juanma Lopez beats Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. this past weekend. I personally thought that Juanma should have hung him up. I love Juanma Lopez. I know he was a fan favorite, especially in Puerto Rico. But he had lost several fights viciously, getting knocked out. He did get cleared and won a fight against Wilfredo. Why do I keep messing up his name? Vasquez. But now he's looking for fights against Gamboa and Donaire and anybody that's got a big name. What's your thoughts on the continuing career of Juanma Lopez? Am I wrong to feel that he should not be allowed to fight, or do you think he's healed? I mean, I'm seeing a Jermaine Taylor situation here. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, and I think I did not watch the fight, but I did see the highlights. It was a pay-per-view. I did not buy it.
Oh, right. You didn't think it was worth it? One fight and all the other ones dropped out? You didn't think,
No.
No, I agree with you, and I think that, that's some of the problem with this sport. I mean, how could you even have the you-know-whats to make that a pay-per-view? You could say, well, we wanted to make it available to a U.S. market. Well, they could have streamed it, I mean, I can't see them doing well with that fight. Even the biggest Juanma fans weren't going to pay for that. I just, and it has nothing to do with the amount of money either. I know it was only $30, but it has nothing to do with that, right?
Right. Well, and it also, I mean, like you said, I think that the writing was on the wall already that he has been in too many wars and really shouldn't be fighting. And I think the absolutely bizarre behavior at the end suggests that he's not doing so hot with decision-making skills either. To go after a cornerman, that was bizarre.
But don't people forget? Apparently, y'all must have forgot that he was suspended for smacking a ref, right?
Right.
He smacked a ref during a fight. He was suspended for a year, I think. So I mean, obviously,
was it smacking the ref, or was it that he complained that he
Oh, you're right. You're right. He
afterwards.
complained that he was. That's right. He complained that the referee and his son were gambling. It was something to do with gambling on the fight, right? That they were paid off,
and that's why they stopped him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, either way, he's not thinking too clearly, but.
But yeah, it's I would hate to see him fight again, and all the fights he's talking about are ones that you would assure he would take a beating, and that just would be add insult to injury. So I hope those don't happen.
I agree. The heavyweight division, the so confusing world of the World Boxing Association, has ordered Lucas Browne, who actually was the champion that they stripped, to fight Shannon Briggs. I know your idol, but and for some strange reason, they have said that they will approve Vladimir Klitschko against Anthony Joshua only if Anthony Joshua comes out victorious on December 10th against the feared Eric Molina. What's your thoughts on this announcement that became official yesterday from the WBA? I mean, do you have a word you could use to describe it?
Disappointing.
I told you, I was ready to say what? Ridiculous?
Yeah, it's a little disappointing because I really wanted to see Joshua Klitschko. It's not surprising that the sanctioning bodies have put a stumbling block in front of that, but we already had one in the sense that Klitschko was injured, so we knew we had to wait. But I do think that it's unfortunate that we have what's going on in the heavyweight division right now, where it looked like we had something, we had a lot of prospects for good fights, and now we're getting Anthony Joshua versus Eric Molina and Lucas Browne versus Shannon Briggs. Those are not great fights, but if we get those out of the way and then it leads to bigger and better things, I'm okay with it. We're coming out of this sort of dark period for boxing, but there's plenty to be excited about because November looks good and December looks good. So we have some exciting fights every weekend. I mean, it's unfortunate that we have 2 pay-per-views this month. It's unfortunate for my wallet, but I'm looking forward to even watching the Pacquiao fight this week, even though I do think that he should have a pretty easy time with Jesse Vargas. If he doesn't,
easy,
it's all over.
Easy. You see now. I don't know, man. I think people listen. I'm officially picking Manny Pacquiao to win the fight, but I don't think it's going to be an easy time. I think Jesse Vargas is a tough fighter. I think he's perfect for Manny Pacquiao. He doesn't have much movement. I know I had an emailer early say that he'd like to see Jesse Vargas with footwork and head movement, and utilizing movement to beat Manny Pacquiao. And I agree with all that. The problem is Jesse Vargas doesn't do none of that. And I do think that Manny Pacquiao is going to win this fight. But I don't think it's going to be an easy fight, Alex. I really don't. Jesse Vargas is a tough guy. He did drop Timothy Bradley, which is not easy to do. Timothy Bradley's got a granite chin, So I don't know. I think it's very important that Manny looks fantastic in this fight. But I like the card. I mean, you got Donaire against Magladeno, and we're going to see Oscar Valdez again in the featherweight division. So, I mean, it's not a bad card. And I also think that the fact that Top Rank is producing and distributing it could be a good move because I would rather see that again. I think that some of the promoters got lazy when the Showtime and HBO took the reins. Do you think that this could lead to more promoters doing this, or do you think we're going to be back to the norm, because we got Kovalev Ward coming up, and most likely it'll be a pay-per-view for Joshua Klitschko, etc.?
I think they are going to do a little better than expected this weekend because it is still Pacquiao. I mean, I think because there's been somewhat of a drought of boxing for a little while, I can't help but imagine that will help because I think people are hungry for some fights, and especially a Pacquiao fight would be nice. I really hope it does not pave the way for a Mayweather rematch. I do think that, like you said, I mean, I hope you're right. I hope Vargas does give Pacquiao a tough fight, and I do think that Pacquiao's certainly long in the tooth, so and his reflexes aren't what they used to be. I think that it could be that finally Father Time catches up to him. But I think that Pacquiao's a lot more skilled than Vargas, and just like in our blast from the past, when all things being equal, I tend to go for the skills guy, and I think that's Manny Pacquiao here. So I think that he should be able to, defeat Jesse Vargas probably by unanimous decision.
Mark it down, May 2017, Mayweather Pacquiao 2. It's going to happen.
Ugh.
It's gonna happen. It's got to, because of the money. There's too much money. Floyd's not taking on any tough challenge, and to him, Mayweather Pacquiao 2 is an easy win for Mayweather to break the record that he set out for. So,
you really think there is money there? I mean, people would want to see it again. I don't know. I think part of I really blame that fight for part of boxing's downturn, because I think that it was such a letdown. And people waited for it so long that there's been a sort of, people have soured on the sport because of it. At least that's my read.
I know, but they're going to show that Pacquiao beat Bradley and Vargas, two top guys. They're going to use this shoulder injury, even though I hate that that's an excuse. They're going to use it. And Mayweather's going to come out and say, I'm going to give him a shot. I want 100% Manny. And they're going to sell it. Mayweather's going to make $200 million on the fight. I don't know what Manny's going to get, but he's not going to come out for anything less than that. I mean, once you set that bar, he's not. Why should Mayweather fight for anything less? He already got $200 million cleared. He's not going to fight for less than that. So we'll see. But Alex, great job as usual. We'll look forward to you next week, and enjoy the fights. We are doing a post-fight show. I would love to have you watch the fight and come on and give us your thoughts as soon as the fight's over, if you got time Saturday night.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely keep you guys in mind, and as long as I'm still awake, those fights are so late.
I know, but we gain the hour.
That's right.
It'll go from at 2 in the morning.
Make a nice pot of coffee and call in.
There you go. From 2 in the morning, all of a sudden we'll be back to 1 in the morning. So right. It'll be way early. You'll feel all refreshed. But Alex, great job, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Billy C. Take care.
That's Alex Perpali, and you can catch him every time we do the Blast from the Past. Hey, a couple of things I wanted to wrap up the show with. First and foremost, as promised, my man Brett from Canada had an email that I didn't get to earlier. I want to get to it now. He says, hey, Billy C., I guess the heavyweight picture is clear as mud, twice as murky. First off, I'm not surprised that Molina and Joshua is official. This fight won't last long. Sacrificial lamb is a good term here. The one thing I will say is Molina does have a good chin, but as far as quality goes, Anthony Joshua is 10 times better than Deontay Wilder, and I agree with my man Brett that the fight won't go long, maybe four rounds. He says, I found out on Sunday that Shannon Briggs will be facing Lucas Browne for the WBA championship. What a joke. Briggs has fought no one in the top 10 and doesn't deserve to be in the ring for this prize. Browne, too, hasn't fought anyone substantial. Apparently, the camps are working on a venue now for the Parker versus Ruiz fight. Everything else is done. But why is this such an issue? I have no idea. I really think that someone's going to punk out of this fight, and the venue will be it. All I could say is I really hope that Joshua Klitschko happens in the spring, because at this point, it's the biggest fight. First and foremost, the Briggs Browne fight, as we talked about earlier, is a joke. The thing is Browne, the biggest part of the joke, yes, I agree, is Shannon Briggs, and the fact that he's even got an opportunity like this. David Haye punked out a fight in Shannon Briggs, which goes to show you that David Haye is nothing more than a punk. I've said this for years about David Haye. I know everybody over on the other side of the pond. I mean, when you guys are going to realize this, I don't know. Shannon Briggs hasn't fought anyone. Brett was being kind in the top 10. He hasn't fought anyone in the top 25 since 2014. But at least Lucas Browne did fight and win the WBA title, even though they subsequently stripped him of it. Now they're making him fight for it again. So I don't have a problem with him fighting for it. I do have a problem with Shannon Briggs. As far as the Klitschko fight, the Parker Ruiz fight, that's a joke. Andy Ruiz Jr. has no business fighting. He's got the same type of record and as Shannon Briggs has since Briggs came back. That fight is being moved to the U.S. What happened there was Parker's team was trying to get government funding for the fight. Apparently they do that in New Zealand, and then they withdrew from their request for funding. I believe that's because Bob Arum threw some under-the-table money at Parker's promoter, and he's trying to move that fight to the U.S. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see that fight land in either California or at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. As far as Joshua against Klitschko, listen, that fight is going to happen. I think that it was a foregone conclusion if Klitschko didn't injure himself. I think they just solidified that fight by getting the WBA to approve it. It makes the most sense for Vladimir Klitschko to come back and attempt to win at least half of the 4 titles that he wants to have. He'll be able to get a shot at getting to the WBA, the vacant Super WBA title, and, of course, Anthony Joshua's IBF. I think the fight in December will help get Anthony Joshua ready. I'm still picking Joshua over Klitschko. And finally, I don't know if you caught this. It's all over CNN. There's a casino. It's called Resorts World Casino in Queens, New York, Jamaica, Queens. And a woman, Katrina Bookman, apparently was playing the slot machine and won, or at least the slot machine said she won, almost $43 million. It was $42,949,672. And she actually took a selfie of the screen displaying that she won. She went to the office or whatever, and they said, well, your exact earnings will tell you tomorrow. So she came back the next day, only to find out that the casino is telling her, oops, the slot machine made an error. You didn't win that. You actually won $2.25, but here, we'll give you a voucher for a steak dinner. I say, hold the effing phone here. Whether they have a disclaimer on the slot machines or what, that is total BS. You know, if there was an error on the machine, too bad, so sad is what I say. Casinos make all this money. People are pumping money into slot machines or table games or whatever. Every second of every minute, of every hour, of every day at casinos throughout the world, okay? And it's like an insurance company. You know, you pay insurance time in and time out. You pay your premiums, and then all of a sudden you need to make a claim, and the next thing you do is you're getting a notice that your insurance is going up because you made a claim. Well, this is the same thing. If the machine was faulty or if the casino made an error, that's their problem. That's their problem. They need to pay this woman. Anybody that wins, that a machine displays, the lights are going off, or if they think they hit the number or whatever the case is, they should be paid. If the casino finds out that there was an error later, they need to fix it so it doesn't happen to them again. The gazillions of dollars that they bring in on a daily basis, come on. I think this is totally unfair. The worst part about it is that Ms. Bookman has hired an attorney, and he's suing the casino for only $6,500, claiming that that's technically what she should have won. Well, I say this. I say she deserves the $43 million or slightly less. I think she should settle for something like half of that or 10% of that. I think that this woman should be made a millionaire at the very least of that. The casino's making an error. That's their problem. It's their job to make sure that they don't make an error. This woman is being screwed, and I think that if this casino doesn't step up and pay this woman at least a substantial amount of money, not a steak dinner and not $6,500, I'm talking about, I would hope that she could settle for 10%, which would be $4.3 million. That's what I think she should do. And I think that's what the casino should do. If they want to save face and continue to bring in the revenue streams that casinos do, come on, man. You can't expect people to go in and play. That's like placing a bet with somebody and handing a winning ticket and go, oh, I'm sorry. That line, that was wrong. That ticket's wrong. You didn't win. You lost that. Get out of here. You got the ticket. Pay the ticket. This casino is in the wrong here. Pay Ms. Bookman. That's my thoughts. Hey, don't forget, we're going to be doing a live show tomorrow and the next day, and we're doing a post-fight show after Pacquiao Vargas. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.